Welcome to the Social Currency.
I'm Tani, your resident AI nerd.
And I'm Aurélie, your work from anywhere techie.
We share real stories of connection, trust, and the relationships that shape our lives.
Let's get started.
Well, hello, welcome everybody to the Social Currency, joined here by a good friend of ours, Mark. I feel like I've known you for a really long time, and we bonded over, of all things, tea, because we're both from the Commonwealth. You're British, I'm Australian, and tea is very much a part of our upbringing and our cultural fabric. And so I still appreciate that we have this special bond around tea.
Me too. Now I feel obliged to make sure I have tea on me if we bump into each other at any conference.
Well, Mark, we always like to start this with a quick bio. And we don't do the bios. We ask this question of you, like what makes up you? Who are you at the core?
At my core. Start with the real tough questions. I love it. I guess everything that drives me or gets me excited and out of bed in the morning is about making impact in the world. So that comes down to, how do you drive change? How do you drive the planet or an individual person in the right direction to achieve something totally worthwhile? I wouldn't necessarily always go as far as to define what worthwhile is. Like, I think kind of depends on the individual, depends on, and if you're listening to this and thinking you want to do something similar, I think you got to figure out what that worthwhileness is. And for me, it's always been kind of education and planet. Those are the two things that I'm most passionate about.
So yeah, I love that. And I think it's really important that we have advocates like that in the world. Can you tell us a little bit about Thrust Carbon and what compelled you to start that company? And obviously it's tied to your drive and your passion, but tell us a little bit about Thrust Carbon, what it is and why it's important.
Yeah, so a fun one for the audience listening. I guess you guys have a lot of travel as an audience, right? So my background was not travel. Big fan, right? Like, I get that thrill of traveling, be it for work or for pleasure. Never thought about going into the industry. I'd been in education technology a long time, and had bizarrely ended up building a small travel business in order to get young people into different environments, exposed to new learning experiences. We had all these amazing companies like Tesla and Nike involved to train young men, women to become more employable, to achieve their goals. And we ended up running it as an event and experience. So we became a travel agency. Then we started going to more travel events. We went to an industry hackathon on a crazy topic that wasn't particularly exciting.
This is where we met. I was going to bring it up. Yeah.
That would have been Madrid, June, July 2019.
Exactly.
Needless to say, Arlie's energy, captivated me, and we've been friends ever since. But then we won this hackathon, and they invited us to come to another one. And of course, I jokingly went, well, we're not going to win two in a row. So, but they said it was on climate change. I was like, oh, well, that's something I'm pretty passionate about. I don't think of myself as someone who can tackle climate change because I'm not building anything from nuclear reactors through to carbon capture, storage utilization. Like, that's not the skill set or brain that I have. But we went along because it was a good experience, and it's nice to say yes to good travel experiences. It was focused on offsetting. We built a cool product in 48 hours, and that became the kernel of Thrust Carbon. So really from zero to something, 48 hours.
I want to take this opportunity to talk about social capital, because this podcast is called the Social Currency. Right. So we like to refer to social capital like that's invisible currency, invisible fuel that powers so many connections, so many opportunities. And I think it's very tied to your story because we met, I remember you were very, very new to the travel industry, but you did tell me that story about helping young people to be more employable. It was in Madrid. I remember that very clearly. And since then you founded Thrust Carbon. It's the success that we know today because you also have excellent human skills. And something's telling me it has a lot to do with your social capital. So very first question, what does that mean to you, social capital, if you had to define it? I like the thinking.
It's hard. It's such a good question. I heard a phrase really early on in my career, and I feel like I heard it in passing, but it really, really, really stuck with me. And also, I'm a sucker for an acronym, not necessarily to the extent the travel industry is, because there's more than even I can remember. But someone used the phrase add more value. Mm-hmm. And if you go through life just adding more value, you find ways to just go a little bit beyond, do a little bit more, or you just consistently are people-centric rather than me-centric, right? And it really gets the brain working in a very positive, authentic way that has a crazy amount of kickback and benefit to me, but from an authentic place, right? So the example would be like, add more value. Like, you meet someone at a hackathon and you're just like, cool, how do I add more value to this person's life? And it's like, well, I don't know anything about you. It's just like, cool. So what do you do? And what are you struggling with? Like, what keeps you up at night? Like, what kind of problems are you working on, or where do you want to go next? And people tell you, right? Be it like, hey, we've got this amazing product and our sales organization is really struggling, or like, I'm great at sales and our product is awful. How do I get advice on like building, XYZ? And then it's like the genuine desire to help, right? Like if it's inauthentic, if you don't actually want to help or follow through, but if you can then go, oh, hey, I know Tani's got this background doing, yada, yada, or a good example, right? Like, killing it on social media right now, using AI tools better than the vast majority of people. If you want to speak to someone about some AI tools to build your LinkedIn presence, have a chat with Tani, right? And then make that connection. Half the time, nothing comes of it, but people still go, oh, that was really nice of you to put that together. And in the one in however many times it comes across, then you've got people going, oh my God, I wouldn't have a business if you hadn't put me together with this person, or like, you helped me get through this really tough point, or you got me a mentor, you got me in front of, a big new TMC customer.
Yeah. So I'd love to extend that, travel, like working from anywhere, travel is my thing. And in those adventures, I come across people that I would have never have met if it wasn't for travel, especially even here. I'm based in Dubai at the moment, but we here really believe that travel has this amazing capacity to increase our social capital. So I'm sure you have the same view on that. Do you have a story to share about that? Something in particular that you remember, someone you met and that made a difference in one of your trips?
Yeah. And I guess actually, if I can almost segue before I answer that, right? Like my brain runs in like, I guess these awful parallels a lot. But when I think of what you just said and why we need to get together, I'm always desperate for us to get together more and have more of those social connections and collaborations and opportunities to work together. And you don't get that without travel. I'm just also desperate for us to work online better and more effectively all the time, because then you value the in-person. Right. Because then you value the in-person stuff even more. I'm so glad that we're on our way. I thought we were there. We've probably gone back a little bit. That we were away from the days where you'd go to a convention, conference, and then you'd sit in a corner on your emails because you're like, oh, I'm out of the office and I'm behind. Like that needs to die a death, right? If you're at a conference, you're spending your company's emissions, your carbon budget, which they may not have set yet, but they will. You'll be spending their, financial budget. And, we might forget these things, but like if you're spending thousands of dollars to just do your emails in a different room, that is a expletive waste of a company's resources. Right.
And your own too, your own time and energy.
Yeah. And then you beat yourself up, you're stressed. And like, it's really hard. Like, people on our team will still come back from conferences and say, oh, I feel really behind because I'm at a conference. And it's like, I don't want you to feel behind. You've done amazing work at a conference. And yeah, you have lots of follow-up. That's a good thing because you were working really hard at the conference. And then you have all the other things you were working on that maybe you haven't been able to progress for a couple of days. But like changing that attitude, I think is so important. And then that really fits into the social capital side of things. Not that I've answered your question in any way, shape or form.
No, but I love it actually because both Tani and I are techies as well. It's always as well that we do know that in person, you create a lot of value. You meet people you wouldn't have met otherwise, whether it's travel for leisure or for business. But we also know that we need to be more mindful about how often we travel or, travel in a more clever way. So how do we balance everything?
Yeah. How do we balance?
Yeah, that's the question. You're not going to get away with that one.
So I think, it's traveling with purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. And what's tough is like, if you can't justify the purpose, then sometimes you got to say no, right? And certainly in the early days of building a business, that is also really tough because every cent that you spend can be really expensive. And I don't know, if someone's listening to this thinking they're going to go build their own business, it's very easy to just go to loads of conferences and learn. But equally, all three of us are incredibly visible. On LinkedIn and other platforms, you'd probably find it easier to get in our diaries if you just had a phone call.
True.
It doesn't apply to everyone, but it's a really good way of reframing how you look at these things. And then like the balance piece, I guess balance is a funny one. I don't think I strive for balance in life. I think like balance is kind of what you achieve when you are focused on the right things and doing them, if that makes sense. Like the subtle difference being like, if I'm take right now, like let's say me 2 years ago or me a year ago, not balanced, right? Like almost all in with thrust carbon and frankly neck pain from traveling too much, like wrist pain, too much working remote. And I was working remotely way before COVID and way before Thrust Carbon. I think that stuff had really built up on me physically. So absolutely not balanced. It doesn't invalidate any of the work I was doing at Thrust Carbon. Like that was purposeful and having great impact. But like there wasn't something to necessarily balance against. And I'd have fleeting starts and stops with looking after my well-being from a physical perspective or mental perspective or anything else perspective, right? Like going to the cinema, hanging out with friends, whatever else it might be. So really it's like, how do you focus? And if your goals are, I need to double down on all my friendships because I'm not getting enough connection from them because I'm not putting enough in, right? And you're focused on work, then you end up balancing those things really nicely and you feel really good. I don't think you can necessarily sit there at your desk and go, I need balance, right? It's like, what do you actually need? Is it the connection with, friends, partner? Is it impact? Is it having meaning in the world, right? Maybe you get that from your job, maybe you don't. And probably some other really important things as well that I'm not thinking of immediately.
I wanted to double click on something you said about the conferences, because when you're talking about conferences and what you're really talking about is those in-person interactions and how important meeting people and spending time with them is to build your social capital. But for introverts, that can be really hard. So when you were talking about, those people who were sitting in the corner typing on their laptops, I bet you they're all introverts because they're terrified of conferences. I am actually a secret introvert. Everyone's shocked when I say that. I come across as being more of an extrovert, but it's actually really hard for me at these events because I walk into a room with people and immediately my nervous system is just like, oh my God, panic, get out of here, go sit in the corner on your phone so nobody approaches you. So I know Aurelie is an extrovert and I think you're fairly social yourself. But so do you have any advice for us introverts on how to better take advantage of these situations where you are in a room full of people and especially strangers you don't know?
Yeah. I'm going to logic my way through this to the point it's going to sound really simple and easy. So it's almost like the balance question. It's like you're not looking for balance. You're trying to unlock like your superpower and what your focus is. Yeah. Extroverts, we're going to find it really easy to say hi and chat absolute nonsense and get to know you on a superficial level. We can struggle with the long term, everything from the follow-up, the mapping of a network, consistently adding value. That's where we're less good, right? And also sometimes that networking can then feel very shallow if you don't have purpose. Right. If you're just networking, if you're at a conference for the sake of it, you've got a free ticket, you've been invited, or maybe you're speaking there, but then you're just milling around. And I'll tell you, that's where I find it hardest. If I don't have a purpose in networking, like I feel incredibly insecure. I'm like, am I trying to win clients? Am I trying to build my network? Am I trying to help other people? Like, or am I just introverts is the opposite way around, right? Like you're way better at unlocking your purpose. You know, you're going to follow up diligently. You're going to be way more structured and methodical in your approach afterwards. So it's really just like, how do you get the horrible bit out of the way, which is going up and saying hi to someone who doesn't look like they're interested or doesn't care or probably won't want to talk to you, right? So it's the opposite problem. And so the key message that I try and drill into anyone who tells me they're nervous at that first approach. So it's not like I'm bad at networking, I'm nervous at networking. You drill it down. It's usually I don't like the approach or I don't like small talk, right? So, okay, scratch small talk. We're not going to do that. You got to, one, go and talk to them. So just pick someone, tell yourself they look more nervous than I do. And go and say hi, and then just have a prepared couple of questions, like, and deep ones, right? And like the deep ones also include like, what are you actually looking to get out of this conference, right? So it doesn't have to be, oh, isn't the weather nice? Or like, the shrimp is okay. Actually, I didn't really like, give me what, so what are you doing here? Or like, actually, I recognize you. I've seen that you're from, Timoji, or I see the brand, right? What's it like working with Aurelie or someone else I know at Timoji? And then you've got a starter. And then also I would set yourself rules. And my favorite rule is the like 3, 2, 1. If you just don't, like, you give yourself 3, 2, 1 seconds and then you have to do it in that time, right? If you don't do it, then you're going to give yourself excuses. Our brains are so annoyingly intelligent and persuasive. Like we will just go, oh, she looks so popular. Oh, she's never going to want to with me. Like, or like, oh my God, that's the CEO of this and yada, yada, yada. CEOs get nervous. Everyone feels self-conscious when they're standing in a room and everyone always looks like they're having the best conversation of their life. They are not. Most of them want to get out of it. So I think this stuff makes a big, big difference, right? So if you are introverted, like have a purpose, set yourself the 3, 2, 1 and just go say hi and have a deep question. And the rest will follow. Right.
This really reminds me of how we met, which was over the tea station. And at these, I know I already brought this up, but most people
Again, tea.
Frankly, I'm mad this is empty. Like, why do I not have someone who can just fill up my tea for me right here?
Exactly.
No
So,
rage.
like you said, I love this tip of yours. Like, it could be something super simple. If you notice something unusual or different, you can just make a comment about that. And you were very gracious and you engaged with me. And then that kind of turned into this almost like, it feels like a lifelong friendship of something really, really simple. So I love that advice. Thank you for the introvert in the room.
What I found quite helpful as well, because I've been helping Focusrite with the Young Leaders Summit for a while now, and we have a lot of first timers, and they're very early in their career. So for them, it can feel very intimidating as well. You don't even have to be extroverted or an extrovert and introvert. It's also about, yeah, but I'm new. What if what I have to say is not very interesting, or the limiting beliefs that you need to go over, right? And sometimes to complete to what you said, maybe if you don't feel 100% confident, looking out for those types of programs that offer like a platform that put you in touch with other people in the industry, so you can use allies to help you network is something that can be quite helpful as well. You would be a good ally, Mark.
Happily. I'll tell you, using
I'm
Focusrite.
giving you that job.
Please. I remember my first ever Focusrite. So again, this might surprise people, right? But I had a huge amount of imposter syndrome. I was not an expert in the travel industry at all. Like, I still didn't really feel like a hardcore climate expert, definitely in comparison to most people, but I still didn't necessarily feel it. I always worry with it being a data business, I'm expected to know almost all of our data off by heart. When the whole reason why we have it is because it's a tech platform that allows you to do these calculations and automate things and use, smarter machines than the human brain. But I was there, filled with imposter syndrome. I'm on the 30, was it 30 under, or no, 30, I was not under 30 then, sadly. Young leaders, 30 under 40 or 40, something like that, right?
Was it in Barcelona? Because I was there too. You came in our cocktail. Yeah, you invited yourself. It was amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for inviting yourself into rooms that you're not invited into sometimes. But no, I promise that the first time I was invited, or at least one of the times. But I was there, and I remember all these people saying these incredible things about being rising stars at, an Expedia or a Booking, a cool startup I'd never heard of, your Amex GBTs, BCDs, etc. But everyone's busy introducing themselves. And every time I ever met anybody, I'd go, hey, nice pitch, explainer. And they'd be like, oh, that's very kind of you. And they'd be like, I'm sorry, who are you? I didn't hear yours at all. Everybody, without batting an eyelid, said that. So everyone was so focused on remembering what they want to say about themselves, they barely listened to everyone else. Or you do listen, but you have so much information going on, you get overwhelmed and you don't take it in. Right. So once you realize that everyone else is struggling with their own stuff, it makes the networking piece and the introducing piece yourself a lot better. Right. And I'm sure everyone has been in a room where you have far too many people doing an introduction and people drone on, and it's just like.
But the reality as well, when you introduce yourself, people remember more things about you if it's more personal than just a title and a company name. So it usually helps as well, right? To bond.
Yeah. So my favorite quote of all time, and if not number one, it's number two. I'm pretty sure it's number one. Dr. Maya Angelou, who said, people do not remember what you said. People do not remember how you said it. People remember how you made them feel. I adore this. I absolutely stand by this. You could do the most boring job in the absolute world. And if you stand up and you just say it in a way that demonstrates your passion for it, your commitment for it, or like what you get out of it, with a big smile on your face, with energy, enthusiasm, my brain is just going to take away, wow, Dave, whoever it is, bloody loves that topic and is super passionate. And I want to speak to him, right? And irrespective of whether it's got anything else to do with what I'm doing or what I'm looking to get out of it, I'm going to go say hi. Because also, when you think about adding more value, like I'll go up there and go, hey, I love dual pitch. That was great. I don't need an agenda to be compassionate and consider and encourage people.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have a story that you tell that makes you memorable? Because do you have like I don't know, I feel like you're so prepared for these conferences and you always have these amazing stories that you can pull out in all these situations. So do you like think about them and memorize them and then you have them in your back pocket? Because you're a great storyteller. So I don't know if there's a go-to story you have on the ready for situations like this.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. The answer is yes and no. No, in the classic extrovert, not prepared enough, wish I had, And I always think I should have something fresh or something new every time I do anything. But conversely, the other side of it is that when you do this over and over, you do say the same things over and over.
Yeah.
I remember once hearing somebody on stage going, really in life, you only need like 2 or 3 anecdotes to dine out on for the rest of your life to be engaging and memorable. And again, you hear these things, you think that's ridiculous. Like, it's so pithy, and surely I'll achieve more in my life than like 2 things. But actually, when you look back at all the amazing things you do achieve, like often it's the small moments that matter so much to you, and then they become incredible stories, or you're really telling a real macro story and just hitting some story beats along the way. And the more you say it, the more clear it should become, more passionate. As long as you care about it, it should be passionate. And that does become very compelling for people to listen to, right? And again, if you're doing whatever you think is cool stuff, right? So again, it's for me like worthwhile, cool, whatever. And I don't define everything it's important. If you do, then you'll really stand by it. Right. Like, I couldn't deliver the passion I deliver for climate change for, oh my gosh, pick something. Medical insurance. There we go. I mean, equally, I'd still feel like I'm helping people if I could get people better insured and surviving. But I don't have the experience. I don't know anything about it. And I would need to unlock that, which would take time. Right.
But people feel it, yeah. When it comes from passion, what passion drives you, usually you shine and people feel it. It's genuine.
Yeah. Exactly. And the pushback, of course, is like, people will say, but I'm not as passionate as you. And that is like somewhere between frustrating and an excuse, right? Like,
it's very subjective as well to you. Yeah, right?
It's the easy answer, right?
Yeah.
The passion also takes huge amount of practice, right? Like, you do, like, I have stood in front of enough mirrors in my life presenting. I'm not going to stand in front of any more mirrors presenting intentionally. And that's probably not true. I probably will every now and again. Like, because genuinely it makes a difference. Being comfortable with your aesthetic, your silly quirks, not stressing about the sound of your voice, but then also understanding you can improve these things. Practicing your cadence, practicing intonation, your hand gestures. Like, this is very natural to me because I've had literally now 20 years of really practicing presenting, right? Like, I passed 10,000 hours so long ago, I really don't stress about these things. And again, it only improves your passion, your commitment, because I know even if I don't know the subject matter as well, because I am expected to know quite a lot in terms of our area of expertise, at least I'm going to deliver it in the best kind of manner that I can do. So I'm not going to get nervous about that. I will get nervous about what I know or don't know.
I think that's a really interesting point, because sometimes that can come across as being overly practiced. But there's something about when you practice enough that you become comfortable, that makes you more charismatic and more compelling, which is also something that builds your social capital, because people like people that are open and warm and confident and feel, they have self-assurance. And I think the thing people forget is that doesn't come to you naturally. You're not blessed with that at birth. It's something you have to be really intentional about. And you have to decide, like, if I want to build my own social capital and I want to be that person that people, want to be around, that's something I have to practice, and I have to put a plan in place. And as a true introvert, that I love that, right? I like checklists and structures and frameworks. So I think that it's nice to know that it isn't just something some people have and others don't. It's something that you can build intentionally.
Oh my God, yeah. It's just such a good point. And so a good anecdote for you. I met the MD of McKinsey while I was about 24 or so. And I was doing quite a lot of coaching for young people at the time, building out my business, working for other people. I felt like I was really on the up for presenting. I really felt like I was above my peer group, but like I felt like I had a long way to go. And then I watched her present to this room, and I was just like, how do I do this? This is ridiculous. And I managed to grab her afterwards, and I was, again, like adding more value, not intentionally. I was just like, I have to just tell you, you were ridiculous. You were amazing. You captivated the audience in a way I've never felt captivated in person before. You spoke to everyone on a level, journey, a story. I learned so much. I just want to say thank you. And she was very sweet. She was like, oh, honey, that's, lots of practice and such. But I did say, like, look, I've got one question. One thing that you have on another scale is like gravitas. Like, how do you kind of get that level of gravitas? And she was just like, I've been doing this for like 30 years.
So that's it. That's the secret. You just have to really keep working at it.
Right. Can you imagine what kind of scenarios has she not been in? She's presumably been screamed at by every possible client under the sun, belittled, equally told they're brilliant and they're the best, and probably, again, Arsene Wenger, I'm an Arsenal fan, which is hurtful because we just have not had the best season. But again, our old manager had this lovely quote that was like, I got more praise when the good was good than I probably deserved, and I got more criticism when things were bad than I probably deserved. And that really stuck with me, because then I think, you got to take the rough with the smooth, and you don't want to compare yourself to necessarily the MD of McKinsey, but you can go, there's a journey here, and a lot of that journey involves a lot of hard work to get there, but I'm on the path or I'm not on the path. And if I'm not on the path, what am I going to do about it?
Maybe one day we'll all be there. It's a good goal to have. So we know that you prepped your words of wisdom for us, Mark. So because you prepped it, we have to ask you, what are the words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, it's so funny. It's you really see and focus on what you focus on. So one of the things I wrote down in my words of wisdom was add more value, right? And it's then just in my head throughout this podcast, right? And I do think when you have like some simple rules in life, it really does help, and it helps you make decisions. I don't think a lot of people have a decision-making framework in place for themselves, right? And doing that stuff in advance when you're not stressed makes a big difference. I think there'll be lots of people listening to this going, hey, saying add more value is easy to do if, you have the privilege of running your own company and you have loads of time to spare. And, you manage, yeah, exactly that laugh. And equally, someone else might be going, well, I'm unemployed and I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I have zero prospects. I have no idea how I would do this. Like there's always the things that stop you from doing that, right? So I think building your decision-making criteria, like how do you want to behave in life? What do you want to do? The more you can focus on that, the easier it is to make other decisions, right? Like, do I want to go apply for a job at Tamoji and do something I've never done before? Or is it a chance to build a skill set I already have?
I like that your wisdom is data-driven.
It is.
I appreciate that. Trying to balance like the macro, super high level, but then not so high level and fluffy. It's not useful as next steps, right?
It's all about being pragmatic at the end, right? And at the same time, not necessarily overthink, but also be pragmatic enough to have that guideline. I like that.
Right. And these things are hard, right? Like I'll give you a personal example. One of my rules that I set long time ago was like, don't make any important life decisions, driven by money, driven by financials, right? Obviously, that is so difficult to do in the moment. I'm sure everybody listening to this has gone, I really don't like my job and I want to leave, but I can't leave because I've got a mortgage to pay, or I've got costs, or I don't know what I'll do next, or whatever it is. And that is such a difficult decision to make at the time. Similarly, I know so many people ask me about starting a business, or how do I do it, or what's my next step? And if you have a really nice salary, going from a really big number to absolutely zero is one of the scariest things you can do in the world, right? Again, salary was once described to me as crack cocaine. Right. And in my head, it has always been associated with. It's like, so if you're gonna do it, you got to know what you're doing. And you got to know that it's gonna be really tough to give up. And if you never want to start a business, don't stress about it. Like you can enjoy your salary and such, but then don't spend your life thinking maybe I should run a business or take all of this risk in the world. But again, that's very hard to do. And like, I'll run more businesses in the future. Like even if I say I won't, I probably will end up doing it. Like I really enjoy this stuff. Yeah. And that's part.
Be comfortable with uncertainty.
Yes. And I think that is a skill to practice. It is a skill to practice. Like I have had times where I really worry about my cash flow, be it personally, be it the business, early days of running Thrust Carbon, any late payment from a customer would really really sends your heart beating. And you've done all the hard work, right? Like you've won the customer, you're delivering amazing work and outcomes for them. Sometimes billing just goes wrong, right? We talk about that a lot online and in articles for how corporates improve innovation in travel or indeed any industry. So it does take some practice. Support network around you makes a big difference. Like if you have a partner, like you got to talk really openly about this stuff, right? Like, are we going to be okay if you're on a salary and I'm not? And what if it takes 6 months? What if it takes a year? What if it takes 2 years? What if it takes 2 years and I come out feeling really broken and my self-esteem is really low because actually people didn't want the stuff I had to deliver? Ideally, if you go down that path, you pivot and you find what people want, but it doesn't always work out that way.
And I think you've just highlighted how important the people are in this process, because the people are the ones that support you and push you, and they're there to be a shoulder to cry on if it all goes wrong, right?
100%. And then, flipping it as well. If the biggest question I get is like, how do I start a business, or like, when's the right time to start a business? Kind of two sides of the same coin. The next one is always, how do I find my first customer?
Yeah.
Right. Or it's some other garbage that really should be translated into, how do I find my first customer? And your first customer, 99 times out of 100, 99.9 times out of 100 is going to be someone you know.
Exactly. In your network.
If you
Because
can't,
they trust you.
right. Because one, they're going to trust you. Two, you should know something about what you're building, right? Or the problem you're solving. And you probably know that because you're like, you know what? Orly keeps calling me up and telling me about this problem. And then you start going, oh, I wonder, could I solve that? Is that a thing I'm really passionate about? Right. And then you keep chatting and you get customer feedback and you do research and you learn. And then, I ask nice big open questions like, is this a thing you pay for, or is this just a nice to have? And then again, you just keep nurturing your network. And then when you start doing good stuff, people also turn around and start going, hey, Mark, could I pay for that service? Is that something you actually deliver? Or
It creates, it stimulates demand to some extent as well.
It is.
As you were talking then, you made me think that another element of building social capital is curiosity. Because what you're talking about, the common thread through all of the stories that you've told us today is you have curiosity either about the person that you're talking to or this prospect that you're meeting with. Like, what's your problem? What's your experience? What's happening in your life? And it's that curiosity that helps you build the relationship and the connection.
Right. And it's so hard to be curious if you don't care. Right. And if you're struggling with that, it's just a sign you're in the wrong space, right? If you're sitting here and you're building a content business and it's not going as well as all of your friends or peers, right? Why is that? Right. And if you're not Googling, like, I say Googling, like probably going to an AI tool, really. God, it's so in the lexicon to Google things. If you're not researching, like, how do I get to 1,000 followers? How do I get to 10,000 followers? How do I generate better content? How much content to generate? Frequency, different platforms, yada, yada. Like all of that stuff exists there. So if you're not curious about it, it's a really sad, painful, but good learning. You're not in the right space, right? Like if you're not excited about having an impact on climate change and getting your customers to a point where they're reducing their emissions, then yeah, it's okay. Like probably don't build a future in climate change. Even if it sounds like sustainability is a really exciting place to be, it's probably not your exciting place.
I love that. So I think it's time for the last question already. Yes, already. So we like to close our chat with a little gift that you would leave for our listeners. It can be a song, can be a book, it can be anything, really, a movie, anything that has made an impact for you and that I think would be helpful for our listeners.
It's a good question.
Have we stumped you?
Yeah. Well, it's like there's so many potential recommendations. It's hard to distill to one thing. I guess we've spent a lot of time talking about like building things. So from that perspective, like I really love, irrespective of politics or anything like that, I really love the book 0 to 1. I think that's one of the absolute must reads for going from zero, having nothing to having something. And I think it is one of the hardest things to do. So that's by Peter Thiel, a part of the PayPal mafia and, big investor in Tesla and various others, but a really, really, really compelling book. Really, really compelling book and a good read and an enjoyable read as well as challenging.
It's got some great advice. I liked that one.
Perfect.
Well, Mark,
I think that's all right.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This was an amazing conversation. I learned a lot. You made me feel better as an introvert. I'm definitely going to apply some of those things to the next conference I go to.
Well, I mean, I'm glad. And you've also inspired me. I started writing a book on like pitching and all this stuff about like 5 to 10 years ago, and regularly when I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't have the confidence to do this, or I don't know how to make this engaging. And again, like this stuff is also reaffirming both ways, right? So it's reminded me at some point in my life, I am going to pick up a pen again and actually just start scribbling out all of this stuff into something a bit more valuable than just lost thoughts in a brain over here.
Well, when you publish, hopefully we'll end up in the acknowledgements as the people that got you going again.
And maybe 2 people going to buy the book.
Of course.
And you should do your launch in Madrid just for the, going memory lane to your introduction to the travel industry.
I am a secret sucker for a little bit of sentiment. I can look, softer than people think, I think.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mark.
Hey, thank you both. It's been a blast.
Thanks for listening to The Social Currency. Find out more about today's guest in the show notes.
If this story resonated with you, share it with your people, subscribe, and leave a review.
And most importantly, reach out to someone who made a difference in your life.
Because this is how we grow our social capital.
Until next time.